Live from the Jersey Shore to the world. Get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Take the show wherever you go. Download the free Radio Pup app for your smartphone or tablet. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning, and welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I am Phil Brilliant, substituting for Jeremy this morning. It is Thursday, April 14th. Everybody should be getting up, getting out, and doing something. It is 6:08 in the morning, and it is a beautiful, crisp 32 degrees here on the Toms River, and we will have a high today of 56. It is one of those days where you're not quite sure what coat to wear, but you definitely need to wear one, and it is still a no sock day for me, because I think I've gone the entire year now with no socks because the weather has cooperated. But we are joined, I'm very happy to be joined with by Lance Chambeau of the River Lady this morning, one of my favorite attractions here in Toms River. Good morning, Lance.
Good morning, Phil.
Thank you for joining us this morning. It's as we were already chatting, this is not an early morning for you.
No, I usually get up about 5, so this is normal for me.
Yeah. Now, is there coffee involved in that, or just you're up and you are bouncing off the walls?
Yeah, I pretty much wake up, and as soon as my eyes are open, then I'm up out of bed and out and about.
I got to imagine just the thought of what you do, and we'll talk about what you do on a daily basis, but, having been on the River Lady, I want to talk about a little bit more about exactly what it is and how long you've been here, but having been on the River Lady, I have never seen a frown. I mean, everybody's happy, everybody's enjoying themselves. So why don't we talk about a little bit about how long the River Lady has been on the Toms River and how you kind of came into this business.
Okay, great. Well, I'll go back to where when my family located to Toms River was in the 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we came down here from Bayonne. My dad started out with being in the service station business, a gas station. Actually, he was the first person to lease the Texaco on Main Street in Toms River, which is the only gas station.
George's Texaco.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Yeah, he was the first one there, and came through several different businesses downtown, car wash, Avis Rent-A-Car, those kind of different things. And then after selling those, him and my mom bought a marina, which was the Toms River Boat Works, which was a wooden boat building shop located at the end of Robbins Parkway, which is now vacant. It was pretty much decimated by Sandy.
Right.
So that's kind of how we got our start in the marine end of things. So that was back in the 70s. My dad sold that in 87 and unfortunately passed away in 88. I started to just, figure out what I wanted to do because I was doing boat sales at that time with my dad. And so sat down with my wife and my mom and said, hey, how about, this riverboat business? I happened to come across some plans when I was looking through various paperwork and came across a set of plans for a riverboat that my dad had researched. He was semi-retired, so I don't think he would have done it, and I never remember speaking with him about it. But I said, boy, this is a unique idea. So that's kind of how the idea came about, was something that my late father had an idea about doing. And that was back in 1989 when we started the River Lady.
Oh, wow. That's great. Now, is the River Lady that we see on the river now the original boat?
Yes. Yes, that boat was built in 1989 down in Freeport, Florida, which is on the panhandle of Florida. It's a reproduction.
Right.
It is a true sternwheeler, though, which makes us unique. We're the only true sternwheeler in the state of New Jersey, so those paddles actually push us through the water, which every cruise, there's always someone wagering with someone else on whether those paddles actually push us or not. And so they always ask me that question as they're getting off to see if they won their bet or not.
It's funny you say that because I always remember, the first thing you do when the boat turns around and starts heading up the Toms River is everybody's like, oh, is that what's pushing the boat? And you're right. Everybody's always like, yes, no, it's got to be a motor. I hear a motor. And it is amazing. And again, now how fast do you get up and down the Toms River?
We're pretty slow. We travel at about 4 knots, which is just under 5 miles an hour. Okay. But it makes it comfortable where people can see it's not rough. Of course, the Toms River is only about 6 feet deep, so we don't get any of that rocking motion. But that's pretty much the one nice thing about the Toms River. It's got a consistent depth from shore to shore, so we can go into all the coves, which makes it a very enjoyable and very scenic trip.
Yeah, and I've been on it for July 4th. I've been on a boat on the Toms River next to it for July 4th, and you kind of tuck away in the cove there. It's a great place to be, and to see the fireworks go off on the Toms River. And I'm sure that you run many special cruises for different events.
Yes. Actually, the July 4th cruise is probably my least liked cruise for driving the boat, because there's so many boats out there.
Oh, you personally?
Yeah, me personally. Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah, everybody loves it, but it's probably my most stressful night on the water every year. There's just so much activity out there, but it's we get such a spectacular view of the fireworks. Yeah, it really makes it special for the guests on board.
As a former boat owner, I definitely know exactly what you're talking about. I used to call that amateur night, because everybody would be out on the Toms River with their boat, whether they knew how to drive the boat or not. And they'd link up with all their best friends. This guy didn't know how to anchor. Everyone would be floating all over the place. And then you play bumper boats on the way out of town, at the end of the night.
Yeah,
so,
that's the most difficult part. When the fireworks are all over, for some reason, everyone wants to make a mad dash all at the same time. So as you can imagine, it's quite an interesting sight.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. You said that so the Toms River is only 6 feet deep, and it kind of makes it less rocky. I say rocky. The boat stays relatively steady. And it's funny. I've friends are always like, "Oh, I can't go on the river, lady, because I get seasick." And I'm like, you know what? Come on. Take whatever you got to take, and you'll find out that you're not going to get seasick. It's a relatively steady ride down the river. And they've all come, and they've never gotten seasick. So is that basically because of the shallowness of the water that you keep that steady?
There's a couple reasons. One is, yes, certainly because of the shallow depth. But secondly, the boat is steel and it's a flat bottom. We only have, we draw about 4 feet of water, which means we only have about 2 feet underneath the bottom of the boat. So in order for it to rock, it's really pushing the water, compressing it against the bottom, and it just won't allow it because it pushes it right back up. So yes, the depth and the flat bottomness of the boat really makes it stable.
Yeah, except for I have been on there a couple times when we've gone through storms, and they lower the sides, the plastic and everything like that, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. It's nice, it's fun, but you know what? It's once you're on the boat, it's enjoyable, and there's the food is good, the music's good if there's people on there with music, and it's always enjoyable. So how many people can the boat fit? And usually, are you doing special parties, events, or how does everybody usually book for you?
Well, in the beginning of the season and end of the season, we tend to do private groups. Like we just actually had our first charter this last Saturday. It was a 50th birthday party, so I would say probably most of our special occasions are usually tied to things like birthdays, anniversaries, graduations. And we'll usually start those in April and finish those in late October. But our public cruising season starts May 3rd this year. So we run from May 3rd until about the middle of October. And that's for lunch and dinner about 5 days a week.
Now, is it first come first serve? You run it every day, or is it? If there's not enough people, do you cancel?
Well, we've been doing it long enough that we pretty much get a good feel for when we're going to run. Typically, what will happen is we'll get a group that books. We do a lot of business with bus groups, tour operators coming from Pennsylvania, North Jersey, senior groups during the day. So once we have a group booked, 20, 30 people, then we open that up to the public. That's in the beginning of the season. Once you get into the summer season, we're pretty much busy every day, so we don't have to worry about whether we're going to be sailing or not. And since we don't allow people to cancel once they buy the tickets, they're not refundable.
They're coming.
They're coming, and we don't think it's right for us to cancel on them. So there will be a couple cruises every year where I might wind up going out with 10 or 15 people because I thought I was going to sell more tickets, but it's not about making each cruise profitable. It's a matter of really having customer service oriented.
Right.
And people are coming to celebrate an occasion. Usually when they come out on the boat, they're not just coming out for dinner. So we don't want them to have to cancel because it wasn't profitable for us. We'd rather take a little bit of a hit and write it off as advertising.
Right. We are here this morning with Lance Chambeau of the River Lady Cruise. And if you'd like to join the conversation, call in at 732-505-1160. We'll be back in a moment.
Get more Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin at our website, WOBMAM.com. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Now, back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBMAM.com.
Good morning and welcome back. Almost forgot to talk when the red light came on, because the red light came on today. It was playing with us yesterday. But we are here continuing our conversation this morning with Lance Chambeau of the River Lady Cruise, and we were actually just talking offline a little bit about the cruise and the fact of Lance has pretty much been in Tom's River, and actually said probably at the mouth of Robin Street for his entire life.
Yeah, pretty much. 1972 is when my parents bought the Tom's River Boat Works, which is on Robbins Parkway, and so that's like when I was in second grade. So I've been down there since 1972. So I've seen a lot of changes over the years.
Now, had you seen anything as devastating as Hurricane Sandy?
No, we've seen high water, and it wasn't that uncommon for us to get high water, similar to what happened during Irene the year before.
Right.
We had seen that several times, but no, never anticipated anything like Sandy. Thankfully, the way the wind shifted during Sandy, our boat was held up against the dock, even though one of the lines came off. So technically the boat wasn't secured 100%, but the way the wind was blowing, it held us up against the dock. And I came down the next morning with chest waders on and made sure the boat was secured and kind of re-tied it up. But yeah, that was unbelievable. Yeah,
I remember that was one of the parts of town that I came down and toured because I had a friend who had a couple boats at the apartment complex. I can't think of the River Point, I think it's called, or something like that, on the Water Street. And so we came down to check boats. And that part, you had to walk. You were not getting a car through the water. We were going through, and you're making sure you weren't walking across any electrical lines. And it was really frightening. And I have pictures. I think I was standing right at the top of I guess it's Robbins Parkway, right in the municipal parking lot, and it was just water everywhere you looked.
Yeah, the water actually crossed Water Street from Robbins Parkway up to the entrance of the lower level of the parking garage on, I guess that's Horner Street. That's across the street. So yeah, the water was totally across Water Street. It was pretty amazing.
I guess the good part was that was off season.
It was at the end of our season. I think we only missed one charter.
Okay.
And they rescheduled for the following year.
Oh, great.
We only had one charter that we ended up passing on. And we could have done it. It was like 2 weeks later, but nobody was really in the mood for celebration after Sandy. So it was a corporate thing, so they decided to do it the following year.
Yeah, so that was so you didn't have any more that year. You came back the following year in, I guess it's 2013. Any problems as you went up and down the Toms River with the debris that was left out there? Did you find anything interesting or have anything? Because, again, you said you draw 4 feet, so you're pretty much going through. Anything interesting come up in your path?
No, of course, we were really concerned because they really had that problem mainly along the bay side of the barrier island, and we heard of all the horror stories of different debris in the water. But thankfully, by the start of the season, the next year after Sandy, or the next spring after Sandy, we didn't incur any incidents. But we've heard of other people. Yeah,
you're right. I think a lot of it was on the bay side. I know I had a lot of friends who were taking out their boats and were finding cars and hot tubs and all this debris that had yet to be, because really DEP and the Coast Guard and everybody was still just getting mobilized to start removing stuff as we went into the spring of 2013. So it wasn't a top priority in the winter of 2012.
Yes, that was definitely an issue. We actually had more of an issue with Irene, which was the year before, because Irene was a big rain event where Sandy wasn't a rain event. It was more of a breach of the barrier island. And that's when the Toms River up by us got shoaled up, where it had a large sandbar. We actually were stuck on the bottom after Irene, and thankfully the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers came in, because that's a federal channel,
right?
And they started to work on that. And they were actually there during Sandy. They were actually anchored right there in the Toms River off of where Water Street Bar and Grill is.
Right, and if I remember,
During the storm.
they dredged out the area and was able to give you
Yeah.
your dock that you needed to operate your business.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
they were there kind of cleaning up from Irene when Sandy came, and then they came through and made sure everything was good after Sandy. So it was a real blessing for us to be able to continue without any interruption.
Now, when in your season runs, usually like you're starting up right now and you run through the end of October?
Yeah, usually May until the middle of October.
Okay. Oh, very good. So we're going to continue with Lance when we come back from the next break. We're going to talk about how you can book River Lady Cruises, because it is reservation only, and how you can get in touch with Lance. Remember to call in at 732-505-1160. We'll be back with Lance Chambeau in a minute.
Coming up next, the latest from WOBM News, the Town Square, New Jersey News Network, and Fox News Radio. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from the Bob Levy Broadcast Center, overlooking the Toms River, it's time to get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Be a part of the show, 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning and welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I am Phil Brilliant, pinch hitting, substituting, whatever you'd like to say, for Jeremy this morning. Jeremy will be back bright and early at 5:30 tomorrow morning. I'm sure he'll be telling you all of his tales of his travels of North Jersey. It is 32 degrees out. It is 56 degrees as a high later today, and I'm sure tomorrow Jeremy will give you the same weather, because it seems like every morning has been like that this week. And for somebody who has spent a lot of time in downtown Toms River, Lance Chambeau of the River Lady, we are talking about his local roots here and about how he has, basically turned, the downtown, area into his home and his business on the river. So we were talking a little about some of the cruises that you run up and down. You were talking about a historic cruise. I was interested in that. Tell us more about that.
Yes, during any of our daytime trips, we do a narration. The captain narrates points of interest, gives some history. Of course, there's many riverfront communities along the Toms River. We've got Beechwood, Pine Beach, Berkeley Township, Ocean Gate, Island Heights, and then different parts of Toms River as well. We've got the Cranmore Manor section, which is like Haynes Cove. Of course, Bay Shore, which is right where the bridge meets the Toms River, where it crosses. And so what we have on board is a narration during the day. We have a points of interest map, which we have available for folks to purchase. It's only $2, but what it does is it gives them an aerial photograph of where we're going to be cruising during the day, and on the back of that is the narration actually in written form. So if they miss something or want to refer to it. So it really makes the trip even more interesting, because they see exactly where they are, and they get to learn something as we're going along. So people tend to really enjoy that.
What we need to do is we need to get one of those maps and see if Jeremy's house is on there, because he lives in the Cranmore section, and see if we can point that out. And that can be a point of interest. They can see Jeremy laying by the pool in his bikini. So that'll actually, don't do that, because that'll frighten away your passengers. So how many people can you fit on the cruise as you go per cruise, and how do people usually set up their reservations?
We can hold 150 passengers according to the Coast Guard regulations. We typically we consider a full cruise about 125 to 130, just to make it comfortable. Most of our folks find out about what cruises are going and what's available off of our website. Of course, everyone seems to be online these days. So our website, being riverlady.com, basically shows people where we cruise, what days of the week. We actually have our calendar up online. And that really gives them a good understanding of what's available, costs, menu. We've been using the same caterer for about 14 years now. We use Cafe Italia on Route 37 in Toms River. They do a great job for us, very, very consistent. We have 5 different entree choices that people choose, but they do buy the tickets in advance. So they can go online and look. They have a special occasion coming up, a birthday in July or August. They can even go on now and see what's available on that date and actually purchase tickets right online.
Right. And then you have like special nights, like I think you have like a seaside fireworks night, right?
We're not doing the seaside fireworks. We did that years ago, but the only fireworks cruise technically we have is on the 4th, which is the fireworks on the Toms River, which is shot off at Beechwood. But we do a dinner and dancing cruise on Saturday nights.
Okay.
And then during the week, in the evening, we have a 2.5-hour cruise with dinner. We call it the Captain's Dinner Cruise on Wednesday or Friday. That usually leaves about 7 o'clock or 7:30. And then we have an earlier dinner cruise on Tuesday and Thursday that leaves at 6. And that enables people, according to what their work schedule is, whether they're able to come out. They can choose either 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 7:30, depending upon what day they'd like to come.
Now, how long is a normal cruise?
Most cruises are 2.5 hours. We do have a couple that are 3 hours in length. The dinner and dancing cruise is 3 hours because we have a DJ on board, and that's kind of important to have enough time for dancing, so we make that cruise a little bit longer.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, there is a bar on board that serves wine and beer only.
That's correct. We have a bar on board, beer, wine, champagne, and 2 years ago we started adding frozen tropical drinks, which in the summertime go over really well.
Yeah.
We do have those with alcohol or without.
Okay.
So really that's the only hard alcohol we serve is in a frozen tropical drink, but it comes with a souvenir glass, which people tend to really enjoy.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone always likes those big souvenir glasses. And but nobody can bring any alcohol on board.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what we have the plank for. Off the front of the boat is the plank, and we catch people bringing stuff on, and it's off the plank.
I do remember. I think I walked that plank once. Yeah, because I missed that when we signed up, and we're all like, oh, we're going to bring something on board because that's what we do. And no, that we walked the plank that night. But always a great time, and definitely the crew on board, and we're talking. This is your family.
Yes. Yeah. It started out with, like I said, an idea that my late father had. Kind of like a tribute to him. I have on our website celestial navigation. You'll see it. There's a part on the top of our website that says our history, which talks a little bit about what we talked about earlier. And then to the right of that is a celestial navigation. And what that is my dad had written this, and it was pretty much talking about navigating through life. Certainly, we navigate on the water, and we understand all the different nautical terminology and how to avoid certain obstacles and things like that. Well, my dad actually put together something using scripture and nautical terminology. So it's really kind of a combination of navigation, but talking about navigating through life. And if anyone wanted to read that, it's a nice thing. If you're familiar with nautical terminology, you'll enjoy it, and it's got a lot of solid truth to it.
That's very cool. Very cool. So we talked about the people come on for weddings, for special birthdays, for company events. I guess what's the biggest draw? What do people really come to you with as far as, do they ever come with like a challenge? Like, I want to do this special event, but I'm just not sure how to do it. Can you accommodate everybody?
No, you can never accommodate everybody, but we pretty much try to find out what is their goal? What are they looking to accomplish? And then we try to work with them to see if it's something we can do. We mentioned family business. My wife is involved with the business as well as my son. Of course, our kids grew up in this business, so they all helped at one point. But who's left is my son, who's also a captain, and my wife. So between the three of us, we kind of try to give that personalized attention. So if somebody's having a party and they're planning something, we kind of get into the intimate details and see if we can certainly accommodate them.
Yeah, and it's really, and again, I think the key point is, again, about the family business, reservations only, people getting brought to downtown Toms River. The more people downtown Toms River, the more their opportunities are, and River Lady being one of the gems on the Toms River and the great opportunity. Any other special events you want to highlight or that are coming up as you start your season?
No, we pretty much have the same schedule starting in May through October. They're all great cruises. If you like the water, you like to eat, we're your place to go when it's time to celebrate a special occasion. Whether you're coming with just 2 tickets, you have 2 people that want to come, or you want to come with a group of 50, you can take a deck to yourself. That's what a lot of groups do. 40 to 50 people, you can have a private dining area. And then we have a larger dining area that holds about 70 to 90. So we can accommodate pretty much anyone from a couple that wants to go out for a nice dinner cruise to somebody wanting to have a birthday or anniversary.
So this is the time in the show when we always give out the Jeremy Grunin magic wand and fairy dust. I throw the fairy dust in there because he doesn't like when I do that, so I do that. And this is the opportunity. If you had unlimited resources, money was no object, and you could do something for your business, for the Toms River, for the community, what would that be?
I would think about primarily for the business, what we would do differently. When we started this business, we didn't realize we were going to be in the restaurant business. We thought we would do just boat rides. And so now that we know that we're more involved in dining, certainly we'd have a boat that was a little bit bigger, a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes people will say when they're on the boat it's a little bit tight in seating, and certainly we would make those changes. But we think that the Toms River is a beautiful river. It's an unbelievable experience to be out there every day. I really love it. And so I wouldn't change anything about the river, but certainly the boat, I guess there's no perfect boat out there. So unlimited resources, I would definitely make some major changes to make the
bigger boat than 85 feet long.
Yeah, well, just a little bit bigger to accommodate the folks a little bit more comfortably.
And having been on it several times, it is a fantastic experience, and it does make, it really brings out the beauty of the Toms River and the downtown area. So I think you've done a great job. Give us one more time how people can make reservations and get a hold of you. Easiest way is if you're online, riverlady.com, or our phone number is 732-349-8664. That is great. Lance, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Again, Lance Chambeau from the River Lady Cruise. We'll be back in a moment.
Stay tuned for Preferred Company with Joel Markell and Marianne Levy at 8. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin continues next. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.